Good morning, Jefferson City. It is the NT Daily for Thursday, July 30th. Oh my gosh, where did summer go? We are at the end of July. I have Amanda Riley back in the studio with me today. We're going to get caught up. We haven't seen each other for a few weeks, so you get to listen to us gab today. We have a couple of local Jeff City stories we can talk about, and then we thought we would take some reader questions and discuss what is going to be on the August primary ballot. So before we get started, a quick word from our sponsors at MU Healthcare. If you're looking for advanced heart care close to home, MU Healthcare offers the region's most comprehensive cardiovascular services and is accepting new patients in Columbia and Jefferson City, from preventative heart screenings and diagnostic testing to leading-edge care for complex conditions. You can find the support and expertise you need. Call 573-88-HEART to schedule an appointment today or visit muhealth.org/heartcare now to learn more. And Amanda Riley.
Hi.
Welcome,
how we doing?
Welcome to the NT Daily. Welcome back to the NT Daily.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me again. And I feel like maybe we should have switched seats for this, since it's kind of I'm going to be asking you. But
yeah, we could have.
We could have.
Hot seat.
Yeah, kind of like that. But
Scott does usually sit there.
Okay.
So, and he's usually grilling other people. So I think you might have this.
You know
right,
what?
actually.
I think this works then.
Yeah.
That's great.
I enjoyed your and Jake's coverage last week while I was out.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that was a lot of fun. I felt very informed after the fact because, as you know, I am not in the realm of the political field. That's not my specialty. Never has been, and I don't intend on it ever becoming my specialty. So I do feel like this is kind of a nice way for us to chat about things.
Yeah.
Because I know that we do have a lot of viewers out there and people that we've talked to that, maybe we went to high school with or grew up with that say, I'm not really into the politics or into the issues.
Representative of the average voter. They pay attention during election season for
maybe a second. And it depends, right? And I think that by us kind of having a little dialogue about that and opening it up to ask us anything. Now, you can ask us anything. We will not answer anything.
You can always ask. I tell my kids all the time, you can always ask.
Always ask. We might not like the answer. But so with that, I kind of think we should just get started about, just talking about what's on the ballot. I mean, it's a few days away. We're so close.
So close. Yeah. Blake and I went and we voted absentee yesterday at the Cole County Courthouse.
Easy breezy.
Find a voting buddy to hold you accountable.
Correct.
Make a date out of it.
And they're even open on Saturday morning.
They are. Oh, they're going to be open this Saturday morning for absentee voting. I don't know if they've done that before, but I think it's cool. I think maybe since early voting and COVID has started, they've done that. So
So I agree. That's great. So
be nice to your poll workers. And
yes,
your workers,
the people are, couldn't do it without all of the volunteers and poll workers and everything.
And then one big reminder about voting on Tuesday is that as long as you're in line by the time that polls close, you can vote.
Correct.
So just remember,
we show up at 6:59. The polls are set to close at 7. You're in line.
As long as you're in line, you're good.
You're ready to go. So go out, do the voting. So speaking of that, let's just talk a little bit. There are 4 statewide constitutional amendments. I got that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay,
There's
great.
4 on this ballot.
4. And I had read that more than 27 million.
It's a lot of money.
Is that right? 27 million has been spent around these issues.
I'm actually surprised it's not more, to be quite honest.
See, I don't have a relative scope of that. That just sounds like a chunk.
Yeah. It's already gotten expensive.
It's expensive, right? And that's a whole other conversation for another day, I'm sure, between the two of us. But let's just talk about it. I know that you've worked on a lot of campaigns when it comes to ballot issues. And I mean, this is pretty heavy on a primary.
It is.
What should voters understand and about maybe how they're trying to be influenced, and how should people go be informed so they can prepare to make the vote that is informed and, serves their own opinion?
Yeah. So in a previous life, I worked on many of our ballot issues over the last decade, which is always, campaigns are fascinating. I love, now on the other side of it, I've always loved talking about politics, but yeah, I think it's fun to see this play out on the other side of it and having to be kind of reporting or commenting on it.
Right.
I think the one thing I wish that voters would consider as they head into the polls is that these campaigns, and I think I can say this with some credibility, having worked on them, they are depending on you, and they spend all of this money hoping that you will be a low information voter, hoping that you are not paying attention, and that you will go in having heard a very small amount of information that comes from them that they've paid for to make sure that you've heard the message. And then that message has been like pressure cooked, pressure tested to make sure that it's the best message. So like what you're hearing from the official campaigns themselves, and this goes for candidates as well, is their best message. So I think that I want voters to know that, like, the political environment that we find ourselves in 2026, they want you to be a low information voter. And so the best way then I think to combat that probably is to try to have as much information as you can that is, you know, nonpartisan, doesn't come from the official campaigns themselves. I'm more of a many sources is good kind of a person. I think, you know, news articles, obviously, news coverage, earned media coverage, and I think, I think also just like having conversations with people, you know, for some of these amendments, I think you have to like think about like the credibility of the messengers.
Right.
So I think those are all things you should take into consideration.
In your opinion, and this is just an opinion question about, I'm not going to ask you how you're voting or how you voted, but which of the amendments do you feel is the most confusing for what the low information voter might be?
Yes, it's an easy question on which one I think is the most confusing, because I think it's definitely probably Amendment 4, which is known, like, I guess, traditionally as like the initiative petition reform.
So I've heard IP reform, and I'm like, wait, intellectual property?
Yeah.
What is that? I mean, no, in all seriousness, what is that? What is that all about?
Yeah, so we have like a citizens initiative petition process in Missouri. We can change the law by statutes. Those are what you would normally see as propositions on the ballot, like Proposition A, B, C on a statewide ballot. Or we have constitutional amendments, Amendment 4, Amendment 5, Amendment 1. So what Amendment 4 does is right now, a statewide majority, if the constitutional amendment qualifies for the ballot, and again, the threshold for constitutional amendments to qualify for the ballot is higher. So that comes down to how many signatures you get. It's a higher signature threshold to change the Constitution, lower signature threshold to change statute. But once it gets on the ballot, it's just like anything else. It's a simple majority. It's 50 plus 1. Right. So Amendment 4 changes the rules for that to say that you have to have it's called a concurrent majority, but it means a majority in each of Missouri's 8 congressional districts has to pass.
Got it.
So 51% in each congressional district.
So kind of, I'm going to be wrong.
Yeah.
Most likely. So kind of like how, in a way, electoral voting works-ish. Not exactly, because there's different numbers, but to say that it's not a popular.
It's not it's not based on a simple majority, a simple popular vote.
Of the whole state. It's not.
Yeah.
It's based
and
on. And
so I think, on Amendment 4, it's important to understand because fundamentally that is what it is asking you. Do you want to vote straight up and down as a whole state?
Right.
Or should voters in each congressional district essentially have a veto power? That's what I would call it. It's essentially Southwest Missouri could veto what 7 of the other 8 congressional districts vote on, and vice versa. Any one part of the state could decide that they don't want something, and then they would have outsized kind of power.
Interesting.
Even if it passes
everywhere
statewide.
else. And statewide.
Even if it has the majority. So,
that is a little confusing for the.
I think it's confusing. Yeah. I think, the fundamental democratic question there is, how much power. I think that, voters need to ask themselves, how much power do I want? And what gives me the most power as a voter going to the ballot box? Because I think what the campaigns have done is frame this as our system is broken. There's outside money trying to influence politics. I hate to break it to people, but outside money influencing politics is here, and it's here to stay. I just think that is the state of our political environment. So I'm not sure how this fixes that. I don't know how that fixes that. And I think, so that is a question I would ask as a voter, like, how exactly does this remedy that problem?
Right.
And then the other question I think voters should ask themselves is, is just about who should have the power. Because right now, regardless of how you feel about the process to get it on the ballot, about signatures and what signatures should qualify and how many districts you should have to go collect signatures in, I think those are all valid questions that should be probably debated by the legislature. But, at the end of the day, you have the up and down vote. And do you want to give away that up and down vote as a singular voter? Those are the questions I would ask about Amendment 4 before I head in.
If you were going to go in and vote on Amendment 4 and you're like, I want to keep things the way they are, I don't want to change them, which do you choose?
You vote no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
you vote no.
That's how you just got to make sure that you understand what you're voting yes for and what you're voting no for. I don't know. Well, thank you. That was a great explanation.
Hopefully I didn't make it more difficult.
I think you are going to get people to ask some questions.
Questions.
They might have not even voted on it at all without understanding. And that's a whole problem in and of itself, is that.
Yeah, if anything, what I would love for, our subscribers and readers to know is, just don't be a low information voter. Ask questions. Great. Try to get those questions answered before.
What's the best way for someone to, besides a newspaper article or a Google search, they can go online and read things prior to? Where do they go to do that?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with going to the official campaign websites. You just have to understand that,
there's a government website that someone could go to see what's on their ballot, right?
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, if you're just wanting to go see the ballot language prior to walking in, you can go to the Secretary of State's office or the Cole County Clerk's office.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right.
Great.
That was the follow-up.
You actually, when I was voting yesterday, somebody didn't want to be there to vote. He just wanted a copy of the ballot. So that looks like, I guess you can just go do that too.
That's excellent.
There you go.
I love that. Okay. That was a great explanation. We're going to move on here and maybe try to kind of condense the next part. You did moderate those candidate forums last week that we had from the Tribune. What was your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, it was fun. Well, one, just on a personal level, I really enjoyed it. I always say, I said this during the school board candidate forums, like, I greatly appreciate our candidates' time and their willingness to step up and run.
Right.
It's just a difficult political environment to be a candidate, and you have to put yourself out there. It's difficult on you and your family and everybody in your life. So I appreciated our candidates and their willingness to come out there, and I thought they, treated each other respectfully. So that was good. But my biggest takeaway, I think, I've talked about this on the show before, but I think, being the seat of state government and having almost half of our workforce in Jefferson City be state employees, or even just like public employee, like, we have a public sector workforce in Mid-Missouri, whether you work for the county, the city, the state. Even if you don't, even if you're in local government, state policy impacts you. It trickles down. You have a huge school district public workforce. We have multiple, school districts in Central Missouri that make up a large workforce. So I think one of my takeaways was I didn't feel there were some clear answers on the school formula question. And some of that we're waiting on the governor to come down with his recommendation from his task force. I think that's going to have a big impact on Central Missouri, on the state budget. And I just think the general response, I think that all the candidates were kind of like on message for a Republican primary of like, we want to shrink government. The how on that is always, where the rubber meets the road. I think if I'm, a Republican primary voter, if you're going to go vote, take a Republican ballot or whatever on Tuesday, like, I think as a voter, I'd be asking, how am we going to do that? Because I hear us talk about how we want roads, we want highway infrastructure, MoDOT has talked about their shortfalls. Like, we have a budget shortfall. We have it, we didn't fully fund the formula this past legislative session. So I'm just curious about, like, where are those cuts going to come from? And I worry, and I think that Mid-Missouri voters should be asking, like, are those going to be personnel? Because that impacts us directly here in the capital city. So I think that was an interesting part of it and something I would be thinking about as a voter going in to Tuesday.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Because that's great. Well, I think we covered a lot. Is there anything else? We're gonna move on to our final segment here. But is there anything else about the upcoming elections that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think just keeping in mind that we have locally, if you're in the city of Jefferson, you'll have the capital improvement sales tax.
Right.
There is a campaign committee, and then the city itself did informational sessions. I think before you go in and vote, I think you should know what that funds.
Okay.
Where that money goes. The city did like 4 or 5 sessions. Steffi covered it. We have lots of coverage of all those meetings in the News Tribune. You should definitely just be informed about what that pays for.
Yeah.
Before you go vote on it.
Good.
That's a big one.
All right. Well, moving on to just our final segment, just kind of asking you a little bit about the NT Daily itself.
Yeah.
I think we are about to the 50 episode mark or so.
We passed the 50 episode mark and I didn't even do a celebration.
Oh.
So this is our celebration.
Oh, cheers.
Yes.
To 50 episodes and more.
We're fueled by caffeine today. This episode is brought to you by caffeine.
Yes, it is. It sure is. Well, so with that then, do you want more guests, more reporting from outside the studio? What do you think?
Yeah, I'd love to see us get outside the studio a little bit more. I'm very excited that we know how I feel on the NT Daily about high school sports, but
yes, we
fall high school prep sports are coming up. We're gonna have football, boys soccer. What else is in the fall? Softball, girls softball. So
is girls golf in the fall?
Girls golf is. I should know that as someone who played on the girls golf team. I should know better about that. Yeah, we gotta keep Erin's golf funny jokes going. So excited about prep sports. I think that gives us a chance to get out into the community, and even when you're out at those events and you're there to cover the sports and talk to our sports writers who are just absolutely. We know how much I brag on this, but. It gives you just a chance to get out in the community and hear from people, and so we will have been doing the show long enough at that point to I'm excited to get out there and like be at more community events. Yeah, and I think really I'm the biggest thing is that I would love to hear, we've done the hot mess or hot take.
Yeah.
We've taken some risks on the show. I would love to just hear from readers what they want to hear from their morning show. And I've been very, very intentional about just trying to talk about local and state government issues and things that I really think are critical to Central Missouri.
Agreed.
I've stayed away. There are other places that you can get commentary on national news.
Right.
And I just
all over the place.
The space that we're trying to fill is the gap where
what affects our day to day.
Right.
You know, not that the national level things don't, but there's plenty of coverage about it.
There's plenty of coverage about it. So just curious to hear from our readers.
Well, great.
And with that, we're going to hear from one of our sponsors before we wrap up. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Hen House Fresh Foods, our local market on 1904 Southwest Boulevard. A new week of specials started on Wednesday, so make sure you go by and see our friends at Hen House. You can always text Hen House at 41570 to get the weekly specials straight to your phone. Go see our friends before the weekend to get stocked up. And we're back with one more question.
One more question.
Ask Me Anything.
Yes, and we'll have to do this again.
We should.
Maybe a post-election recap, maybe leading up until November, but who knows? Okay, so what is one question that you wish someone would have submitted, but probably wouldn't answer anyway?
Well, I'm surprised no one asked who my favorite reporter was. Probably because they already know the answer. Steffi. I know you're not supposed to have favorite children.
I know.
It's fine. The funny question that I wouldn't probably answer is, Erin, why did you move back to Jefferson City?
Oh, that's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question.
There's a lot there.
That's an Ask Me Anything that will have to be done over some wine.
I guess that's the same.
Yeah, we're gonna have to put that one off.
That's another question for me too. That's the same one for me, actually.
Yeah.
We'll have to be like, who's answering that one first?
So we will have to do this again. I'm excited. Amanda's going to be in the studio covering for me next week. Don't give her too much trouble.
Bring it on.
I took on my first complaint. I took the bullets on the first complaints this week so that you can have a pretty
complaint free. Well, we'll see about that. We will see about that.
I am going to tune in. I'm going to call in for our primary night coverage.
Yes.
So I will be remote for that. So I hope you guys tune in on that. We'll have it on the News Tribune, the Missouri Times.
I will not be at that coverage. So
so you will get to see a little bit of me. But yeah, otherwise, I hope you all are having a great end to your summer. I will be back. And yeah, go vote on Tuesday. And we're excited to hear how you guys like the episode.
yeah, we'll see you next week.